We heard from Donald Tusk. He confirmed that he will recommend to European leaders that they back a delay to the Brexit process. Do you anticipate any countries ignoring Tusk, any countries deciding to block an extension?
Well, good morning, and it's foggy here in Strasbourg, both outside and indeed inside the building. When it comes to what the Council will do, Donald Tusk immediately said he will talk to the leaders and listen to what they have to say, because an extension is now inevitable. And of course, there might be different views among the leaders. There's some indication that France might want a shorter extension, but at this stage it's far too early to predict what the leaders will do. And I suppose I've repeated this, we've been patient and persistent and clear all along. The unity of the EU 27, the need to ensure that we have an orderly Brexit, not a no-deal Brexit. And however we might feel a little bit frustrated or wondering when this might ever end, I do think we have to allow the political system in the United Kingdom to have its day or have its say. And in fact, there's been some interesting analysis about what the vote meant yesterday. I've talked to colleagues here who are obviously on the Remain side, and they believe that when it moves to committee, that there will be amendments, quite significant ones, passed to change perhaps the direction of the bill. So it's not quite as straightforward. Yes, there was a win for the Prime Minister yesterday at one level, and then of course he didn't get his timetable through, which inevitably means that his predictions of do or die by October the 31st really have to, I hope, not die, and he has got to live with the consequences of what his Parliament has decided. But there is a sense here of, we've been here before, we've been here many times, none of us can predict. I'm suggesting what might happen, but do I know? Absolutely not. None of us can predict the political developments in the United Kingdom, and this morning there is even talk about a possible general election in the UK. Now, what that would mean for an extension, one can only surmise. It would require perhaps a long extension, but look, these are early days. It's the morning after the night before, and we've had many of these on Brexit, so let's just wait and see.
Yeah, it always seems to be crunch time in the Brexit negotiations, doesn't it, or Brexit conversation. Let me ask you about the possibility of a general election and what that does to European thinking. Is it easier to justify an extension if it is for some specific purpose, such as an election?
Well, I think that will always be the case. I mean, the leaders will want to know or have some indication from the Prime Minister as to what the extension is required for, indeed how long it might be required. But he is obliged under law, as you know, to ask, as he did, for the extension. And the date in the law in the UK is the end of January 2020. If there was an election, would that be sufficient time to hold an election, to let a new government settle in, and then to take up the mantle of Brexit as it is? So I suppose the one thing I'm feeling at the moment is we might be living with Brexit into 2020 without a divorce settlement. However, we do have to listen to the leaders, and I think there will be a lot of conversations amongst the leaders who will be a little bit concerned, as we are here in the Parliament, that a decision in 2016 is not completed and we move into 2020. The idea of an election, though, again, I'm hearing from Labour, they're not entirely sure if they would want one, or indeed if the Conservatives would like to go to the people in a cold and miserable November. So I think there's a lot of different issues will, if you like, tell us what will happen in the next few days in the House of Commons and in the political system in the United Kingdom. And I think it's clear, and it's only fair to say, that from an EU perspective, we have always listened carefully. We respect the outcome of the referendum. We have negotiated fairly, and we had to do a second deal in order for the new Prime Minister to say he could sell that. He must have told the leaders that he was quite confident that this deal would get through the House of Commons, so they might be a little bit more cautious about what Prime Minister Boris Johnson tells them on this occasion.